What is going on, guys? Thanks for joining my channel, Robinhood. This is Bob. Today, guys, we are going to go over everything you need to know about investing in dividend stocks, how to pick the right stock for you, how to calculate how much the stock will actually pay you in dividends, and also the terminology to understand about investing in dividends. So let's get started. So this is everything you need to know when dividend investing. Basic rules and tips to follow for beginners. So first thing, guys, you have to do is pick the right dividend stock or stocks. So when you're doing this, you have to pick a stock that you believe will go up or at least stay flat. So I usually do a 5 to 7 year trend just to make sure that it is in the right direction that you want to go. The reason for this is even if it has a decent paying dividend, if the stock itself is offsetting your dividend pay, then you're not making any money and you're not going anywhere. So the second thing to look for when you're looking at stocks paying dividend is long dividend history. At least 10 years or more that they've been paying it out, and you also want to look at some increases as well. But as long as they have been paying it, then you should be good to go. The payout ratio should be under 55%. The payout ratio is basically the net income of the company that pays out to the shareholders. So 55% or lower is usually a good indicator that the dividends will still be paid out long run. Certain real estate payout ratios, anything less than 90% is really good. But when you're doing this, you have to just keep an eye on to make sure that they are making the right amount of money to still pay out to the investors. So real estate can definitely be a little higher at 90%. Good dividend yield, this is just depending on how comfortable you are. I usually stick in between the 3 to 8% range. So this is basically the percent that they will pay you yearly for the dividends. The next thing you guys want to do, I will show you an example. Best thing to do if you don't know too much about dividend stocks, you can put your criteria in it using a dividend screener. I'll show you an example. I actually like to use Market Beat. It's pretty simple. If you want to do a dividend yield, like I said, guys, over 3%, payout ratio, if you want to do less than 55%, you can do that. Average growth, you can put no growth or you can put any growth for that. And then consecutive years for dividend growth, you don't have to put anything for that. It doesn't have to have any type of growth, but if we just put 10 years, payments, you can do a quarterly or a monthly, but we'll leave that one blank. So we'll do search for companies. And then with your criteria here, it'll give you all the stocks that they recommend that meet your criteria. So you can look at the dividend yield here. You can look at the growth. You can look at the market cap. You even can look at the ratings, if it's a buy, sell, or hold. So if you were picking these companies here, you can even go with the top 3 here. AT&T is a great dividend paying company. You can go with Coca-Cola. You can go with Verizon. They have a lot more here. You can also make a watch list just to keep track 5, 10 of these and then see how much you want to invest. And if you want to do 1, 2, or 3, however many you want to do. But this is what I would use if you're a beginner and you're not 100% sure on which particular stock that you want to do. This is a very good starting point, like you can see. But the top 3 here would actually be a great starting point with Verizon, Coca-Cola, and AT&T. Very high dividends, and their market cap is definitely a lot. Okay, guys, this is how to calculate dividends. There are monthly paying dividends, quarterly paying dividends, and yearly paying dividends. So I usually like to stick with the monthly or quarterly, but most dividends are going to be paid out quarterly. I usually don't do yearly because if something significantly bad happens to the company, like COVID happened, they could cut the dividends, they could stop paying dividends, and all that dividends you think you were going to get could be cut, or you could get none at all. So first thing you guys have to do to calculate dividends, I will give you examples, is find out what the annual dividend yield is. And also, guys, to get paid for it, there is a declare date, an X date, record date, and a payout date. So let me go over some of these definitions and then we will see what they will be. So first, guys, this is going to be the terminology and calculating dividends. So the declared date is the date on which the board of directors of a company announces the next dividend payout. So this is saying that they are going to have a dividend pay. They'll tell you if it's the same, if it goes up, if it's been cut, or they can even tell you that it has been completely gone. The next important thing you have to know is the ex-dividend date. So this is the dividend payment that is made to whoever owned the stock the day before the ex-dividend date. So give you an example, if it's on the 2nd, you would have to own it on the 1st to get paid for your dividend. And if you decided to sell it on the ex-dividend date, you technically will still get the payment. But keep in mind, on the ex-dividend date, usually the stock will go down that amount that they pay and then slowly recover up just to offset the payment that they have to do. The next thing is the record date. So this is the cutoff date used to determine the shareholders that are entitled to the corporate dividend. So this is basically just them knowing how much money they have to pay out and how many people get the money. The payout date is also very important. Obviously, this is the date on which is declared the stock dividend is scheduled to be paid to eligible investors. So a lot of times if it's on the 1st, you may not actually see this until the 2nd, 3rd, or possibly 4th. It does take a couple days to show up in your account. So if you says it's on the 1st and you don't see it immediately on the 1st, give it a day or two. Usually it will clear by then. So the annual dividend yield, what I was talking about, you have to figure out, is the financial ratio that tells you the percentage of a company's share price that it pays out in dividends each year. So I'm going to give you an example of annual dividend yield. So if they are paying out $5 per year in dividends per stock, then the stock price, let's say it's at $100. So you just divide the $5, which is the annual dividend, divide it by the stock price, and this will get you the dividend yield, which is 0.05 or 5% would be this particular price for the dividend yield. So how to figure out the annual dividend is pretty easy. You take the $5 that you get per year, and that's basically per stock that you have yearly. So if you have 100 stocks or shares, you will get $500 per year annually. If this is a quarterly paid dividend, then you just do $5 divided by 4, which would give you $1.25. And if you had 100 shares, you'd get $125 per quarter. That's every 3 months. And then there are monthly dividends out here, so you just divide that by 12, which would be about 41 cents. But if you times that by 100, if you had 100 shares, it would be $41.66. So if you guys aren't familiar on how to find the actual payout, I usually like to use a company website, dividend.com. You can pick any type of stock. You hit the search. I am just getting paid one on Energy Transfer, so we'll look at that. This one should be coming up in the next few days. The ex-dividend date already passed. As you can see, it was on February 5th. I have not seen it. It will be pending probably on Monday or Tuesday. So that this gives you the pay date and it gives you the quarterly. But what we want to find here is the annual dividend yield, which is 0.61 cents. So basically every year, whatever shares I have, I would get 61 cents per share. So if you had 100 shares, you get $61 a year for this. So that is how you find out the annual dividend. And like I said, if we go back to the chart here, whatever the dividend payout is, you can multiply that by how many shares you have, if it's a quarterly or if it's a monthly dividend. So let's go back to the presentation. So the next thing is what I usually like to do is a stock or dividend tracker. I usually just keep a spreadsheet of seeing how much stock, what stock I have, how many I have, and also how much money that I can make off it per year. So if you look at my spreadsheet here, these are all the stocks I currently have that are dividend paying. If we go to AT&T, I own 1,000 shares. The annual dividend payout is $2.08. So in theory, this would give me $2,080 per share for this dividend payout here. So there's Realty Income, which is a monthly paying dividend, but I do have 400 shares. The yearly dividend is $2.81. and I would get $1,124. So this is always good to have. You should always keep track of all the stocks that you have, how much dividends, especially if it's dividends. I do options as well, so I keep track of how much my investment is, how much money I'm making every week. So the last thing, guys, that you want to keep track of is going to be earnings and upcoming events. You always want to do another chart on that as well. I'll show you that as well, what I keep. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just I have AT&T. It gives me the ex-dividend date, gives me the pay date, gives me earnings. You always want to keep track of this because any type of news that's going to happen will definitely affect the stock price. It could be a good buying opportunity, and if you were to maybe want to sell the stock, it would be a good time to sell the stock if you chose to do that. If they did have negative press, or if you know something is coming that's not going to be well. So that's basically everything you need to know about dividend investing, guys. So hopefully you guys learned something from this video. If you did, definitely hit the subscribe, hit the like, comment below. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.